course, no music.
I got it covered. Hello, Royally Quack fans, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm a little flabbergasted right now because my son has surprised me with one of my favorite podcast, especially Kings podcasts, Locked On Kings host, Eddie Garcia.
Hello.
Wow.
What a nice son, despite the fact he obviously has his issues, but what a nice son to do that for you. Yeah.
Well, and in a year, this is only the first time I have the advantage.
Yes.
Every other host we have had has been a Ducks fan. Eddie, thank you for coming on.
And I helped you with this.
Well,
my pleasure, and I will enjoy the two of us ganging up on the kid there.
So it's literally the Stanley Cup number, two Kings, one Duck.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
For now.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, the funny thing, Eddie, is he always tells me, well, we won it first.
Yeah.
And I always come back, well, we won it twice.
That is right. And two is better than one, obviously. And also make sure you also don't forget that the only time the two teams have met in the playoffs, the Kings won Game 7 in Anaheim. I was there, and went on to win the Cup that year. So there's that.
See, that one hurts me the most because that was Timu's last year.
Yes, it was.
That's the one that hurts me the most.
As it should. Well,
and honestly, I blame the Sharks because they let you guys come back from 3 games down to. I blame San Jose.
They are partly to blame as well. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
The only time I'll thank the Sharks.
Yeah. And we can always, it's 2-1-0 when it comes to San Jose. So we've got that as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cody surprised me because my birthday was in February, and he had one of my favorite players, even though he's not a King, is Teemu Selanne. And they did a cameo with for me for my birthday, and he actually brought up that Game 7 and how the Kings stayed on the ice and honored him for his, wonderful years of playing in hockey, being an example for every kid under the sun. And even though he's a Duck through and through, he really said he really appreciated how the Kings did that. So
yeah, we saw a little bit of that in a game last night. Was it the night before? Night before, maybe. Night before. Yeah. Ovechkin and Marc-Andre Fleury.
That was so classy.
Yeah, hockey. Hockey does a lot of really cool things like that. There's a lot of little things that like if it's your first NHL game, you get to go out right before everyone else and take a lap. The handshakes after a playoff series. There's a lot of little kind of traditions hockey has that's really cool, and that was really cool. I will say there are very, very few Ducks I've ever liked, but it's impossible not to like Teemu Selanne, a gentleman on and off the ice, a hell of a player. So yes, I will completely concede as a Kings fan that Teemu Selanne is awesome, except for one thing, and I hope you guys have never seen this movie, but he did a movie with Brett
the minor
Hall.
leaguer one.
Yes.
I haven't
don't
seen
watch
it yet.
Don't watch it.
I want to because
no, you don't.
Sometimes everyone says it's so bad you have to watch it.
Yeah, so I do a couple of. I've done an NHL podcast for 18 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
My co-host, one of my best friends in the world, is a Ducks fan.
Okay,
so
I'll get him on here then.
Yeah, Yeah, you should actually. He would be great. But
We'll talk about that.
Okay. So one of our off-season traditions is because we do it year-round. Is we do a bad hockey movie review, and we've only done 2 movies that were actually good because there are not many, and the rest of them are all pretty horrible, including the sequels to Slapshot and things like that. There was one called Score, a hockey musical. That one was pretty awful. But we did our last one we did this offseason was Minor Leaguer, and it was right there with the worst of the worst. Just that was like awful.
That reminds me, like when my wife had me watch the movie Showgirls with the girl from Saved by the Bell. It was so bad, but it was like you're just in it just because it's so bad. It's good in a way.
I understand what you're saying because the people, our audience loves the bad hockey movie reviews because we're in such pain as we are watching and talking about these games. You know, like for instance, a long time ago, we did the movie Goon, and we loved it, and it was really good. It was funny. It was well done, and they didn't like it as much because we liked the movie. They want to see us in pain, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But they enjoy us like just rolling our eyes and saying, "What is this movie doing? Why are we watching this? This is terrible." But I would on the only blemish on a wonderful career and life for Teemu Selanne is this movie, Minor Leaguer. So I can only tell you it from my heart: do not. If you like Teemu Selanne, do not watch this movie. And he's also like a producer of it, so I don't know why he did it. I'm guessing it was a friend of his that he was doing a favor for, but it is really awful.
Okay, but all right. We'll talk good. The last good thing, you got to go to a steakhouse in, was it Newport Beach, I believe?
No,
it's so good.
It's like Laguna Beach.
Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
One of the beaches.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's still going because
it's so good.
Restaurants and athletes in restaurants, they try a lot of them and they rarely work. So I'm glad it's doing well. I haven't been. I've heard good things. My co-host Doug, I know, has been. I think he even got like a hat, like Steakhouse 8 or whatever it's called. I don't know. I'm sorry, but
oh my god, there's a hat.
I think so. Yeah, it was like
I remember he has
he has and it's a number 8. And I know there's a number 8 involved. So
it's called Solani's, I believe.
Yes, Solani Steakhouse. Yeah,
and we went there for our anniversary, and they had good steak. And he owes both Cody and I a cocktail after the cameos we got. He said next time we come, he's going to buy us cocktails.
Very nice.
Maybe you should come with us, Eddie, and maybe he'll buy you a cocktail too.
That would be a good story, and I can tell him. I can ask him, why did you do that movie? What did you lose a bet? What happened?
Now that would like me being in a movie. It would be very bad.
You wouldn't be any worse if you were in this movie. Trust me.
Oh,
it's
that's
that
hilarious.
bad.
All right, I think it's time for us to get into news. Get this thing rolling. While we have Eddie here, why don't we knock out the Kings news? Dad, you can get it started.
Okay. Well, the LA Kings have recalled Jeff Malott from the AHL's Ontario Reign. That's because Tanner Jeannot and Alex Turcotte were slightly injured, and they didn't go on the trip with them to Colorado. And Malott actually did play in that game, which we'll have a little bit later. And then, Eddie, you want to do the second one? You have the notes?
I do. The LA Kings signed prospect Jared Woolley, a defenseman, to a 3-year entry-level contract. So he is now in the fold for the LA Kings. Big kid, I think he's like 6'5", playing for the London Knights, the powerful juggernaut of a team there in the Ontario Hockey League. And he was a late round pick. I want to say 6th round pick.
Yeah.
And the Kings have actually done really well with 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. I mean, those guys are kind of just throw-ins, and they've done pretty well with those guys. At least, having them play in the organization, which doesn't happen a lot with those guys. So he's a big kid. He's going to play in junior hockey again next year. He's a kind of a project, but they like his size. Obviously, when you draft in those later rounds, usually you're picking a guy. Maybe he's shown a lot of potential. Maybe he's had injury issues, or somebody who's just he's like a misfit toy, but if you can figure out the broken part, you might have a really special player. So I think this kid kind of like that big, strong, and they felt like if he can kind of grow into his body and develop a little bit, and he's playing for a junior team that's known for developing NHL players, and maybe they got something. So yeah, for a 7th round pick to get signed, it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, they take chances on players that have a big upside if they can grow.
Yeah, which is what you should do for 6th and 7th round picks, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, take a chance on a guy who's got some issues, but if you can figure it out, and usually these are super young guys, right? If they can figure it out, then maybe you got something.
Well, look at Matt Roy. He was I believe a 7th round pick, and he got a great big contract and is playing for the Washington Capitals now, along with our most hated PLD.
6th round pick. I checked it. 6th round pick for Jared.
Was he a 6th round pick?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know he was 5th round or later. That was like Troy Terry was a 5th round pick for the Ducks. Yeah.
It's nice to hit on those guys because a lot of people think, 5th round pick, that guy's not going to do anything. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and he's had a really great program there with the London Knights. They're usually always right there for the Memorial Cup.
Yep, absolutely.
Every year.
Yep.
And if the King fans don't know it, one of the greatest Kings ever was a 9th round pick, and that was President Luc Robitaille.
Yeah, they don't even have 9 rounds anymore.
They don't have 9. He would have been a free agent.
I think Dave Taylor was even like ridiculous. Like you're like, why did they even have that many rounds of a draft? For God's sakes, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Yeah, he was 15th round, Dave Taylor.
Wow, and now we only have 7, right? That's all we have now.
Yeah,
7
rounds now. Yeah, wow. and I think there's some talk of maybe even reducing that as well. I think all the drafts have been like that, right? I think baseball, football, they've all reduced it, shrink, and made it.
Was it basketball only has 2 rounds, I believe?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Yeah,
with all those players.
Well, they do have a lot of like actual people that don't get drafted that actually cling on to teams and actually make the teams.
Yeah, and they have the smaller rosters of all the professional sports. So
that's definitely true. Yeah. Definitely true. But that was all the Kings news. There wasn't a whole lot. You want to go into Duck news, Cody? You got quite a bit.
Yeah. So the Anaheim Ducks prospect Connor Smith had a very impressive week, scoring 4 goals, providing 3 assists, and an amazing 7 points in just 3 games. As a result, Smith was named the OHL Player of the Week. Speaking of awards, Beckett Seneca was the winner of the 2025 Eric Lindros Top Forward Award, also received the 2025 Mark Savard Top Scorer Award, the 2025 Fitness Award, and the 2025 3-Star Award. I believe that was, I don't know if that was just for the Oshawa Generals or for the whole league, but I'm guessing that was more just for the Generals. But I mean, this kid had I believe he had a highlight night last night. I saw at least 2 or 3 goals that he scored last night alone in the game because they won like 7 or 8-3, I believe. I can't wait to see this kid up with the Ducks. Now I see why Verbeek and them picked him at 3 this last season.
Well, he's going to be most known for his mouthing of words at the draft, like he was shocked he got picked 3rd.
I have the T-shirt. I gotta wear it one of these times.
I thought that was classic, actually. So
yeah, and then the Anaheim Ducks will host the Kings and Sharks for a 3-team rookie tournament at the Great Park Ice in Irvine this next year, which I think that was great. I'm sorry, but this last one was horrible with the Kings. The camera angles were bad, and they didn't allow anyone to go watch the games unless you were, I believe, a season ticket holder.
Yeah, very limited seating there at the Toyota Sports Performance Center. Yeah,
is that why? Just very limited seating.
Yeah. There's only. I mean, I don't know. It's like a high school basketball gym, but only one side has seats. You know what I mean?
So that makes sense now.
Maybe,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, maybe 2,000 people probably it holds. You know, it's just a practice facility. So yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, it was not a great setup for that, as far as letting fans come in and watch it.
Yeah.
So is that taking place of the bigger tournament they were having with having like the Sharks? And
Yeah, I think they're really trying to cut down on travel for teams that have to go far. Like probably like Vegas, Utah, and Colorado might have one together, and then probably Seattle, Vancouver, and
Yeah,
Calgary
that
and Edmonton.
the one that they had for the last few seasons, and I apologize for forgetting what the official name of it was, but it was the
The,
biggest one in the NHL at the time.
the rookie face-off tournament.
Rookie face-off, yeah. It
Yeah.
was the biggest one that was being held. They used to have one in Traverse City, Michigan, that was pretty big, and that one kind of got. I think it's exactly what you're talking about. They're always looking to save money, obviously.
Yeah.
So they kind of consolidated that only to like 3 or 4 teams. It used to be like 7. So that one was the biggest one, and then this latest one, this rookie face-off, was the biggest one in the NHL, and now apparently they're deciding to kind of, make it smaller, make it more financially viable or whatever.
And we got someone from our network, Jonathan Holloway. What's up, fellas? What's up, Jonathan? How you doing?
hey, Jonathan.
All right. Next bit of news. The Ducks have signed. I believe it's the goals. I believe have signed forward Drew Elliott to an amateur tryout. I think his college season just ended. I haven't done much research. I just saw this, I believe, this morning. Hopefully, I can find out more information on him, and I'll provide that on the next pod. Last bit of Ducks news: Nathan Gauthier just went successful surgery to repair his torn labral tear, and is expected to be fully recovered in 4 to 6 months. So probably just around the training camp, he'll probably just be coming back. So it sucks to see him go because he was making really great progress down there in San Diego. I was hoping to maybe see him maybe in the preseason being like a good 4th line center or winger with the Ducks next year. So, but let's move on to league news, and I'll let you guys get this started because it's a former King.
Okay. Well, Jets forward Gabriel Velarde is expected to miss the rest of the regular season and is likely out for the playoffs as well, according to John Liu of TSN. The injury, which was described as a freak accident, occurred in the 3rd period Sunday against the Buffalo Sabres. Scott Arnell has ruled Velarde as week to week. And I got to tell you, that's one guy I think, man, we could have really used still this year.
No doubt. No doubt.
I hate it.
Yeah. The Pierre-Luc Dubois trade obviously was a huge swing and a miss for Rob Blake. When you look at what the Kings needed this year and what they eventually sort of addressed at the trade deadline was a right-handed shot that could help on the power play and help offensively. And that's exactly what Gabe Velarde is. But the one knock on him has been his health. And for whatever reason, he seems to be one of those guys that just can't stay healthy. It doesn't, it's unfortunate. And I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it. There's some players, for whatever reason, if they're unlucky or whatever it is. So this is a huge blow. That is a huge blow for Winnipeg. And they've had a wonderful season. But they've had their playoff issues, and it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know how much we're going to get into it if we do get into it, but if you look at the path out of the West, it's pretty
tough.
brutal for the Central teams. I mean, whoever makes it to the Western Conference Finals, if they have to go through, obviously it's the winner of Dallas, Colorado, and then you got to beat Winnipeg if they win their first. That's a tougher road than whoever comes out of the Pacific. So, that's a huge loss for Winnipeg. That's tough.
It is.
Yeah. The Vegas's Tom Hurdle, who leads the Golden Knights with 31 goals, will not be on the Vegas 3-game road trip this week because of an injury he suffered in Sunday's 4-2 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Hopefully he's having a great bounce back year after being unhealthy.
Yeah, he had 2 hat tricks last week, so that's not bad.
That's crazy.
He's a king killer too.
Yeah, I thought when Vegas lost Jonathan Marchessault and Chandler Stevenson, I'm like, okay, here we go, right? They're going to take a step back, and then they bring in. I mean, they brought Hurdle in last year, but Hurdle comes in, and then this kid Dorofeyev has really been great for him.
Yes.
There's somebody else.
Big surprise.
Yeah, there was another player they kind of brought into, and I'm like, yeah, they picked up the slack for those two guys leaving, because I thought that was going to be, you lose two top six forwards and guys like Marchessault, who's won a Conn Smythe. I mean, that's a huge loss, you would think. And I'm not saying that they're exactly the same team they were last year, but they're pretty close. I mean, they're going to win the division this year, so that's not bad. So yeah.
That's true.
Well, here's a bit of good news for Edmonton Oilers. Lost both a game and another superstar Thursday, falling 4-3 in overtime to Winnipeg after Connor McDavid left with a lower body injury. Not that I wish injuries upon anybody. I don't. But we are in a battle to probably play them again, and it would sure nice to have 4 home games against them for once. I mean, I don't think we can overtake Vegas, but
no, I don't either.
But we're in a battle for second with them right now.
I have a feeling I'm really gonna have to eat crow after my hot take I said at the beginning of the year. The way the Kings have been playing and the way that Edmonton's been playing. So Eddie, I said live on the podcast that I said the Ducks would win a playoff series before the Kings do. That was my hot take.
Oh, yeah.
And after seeing how Edmonton's playing and the LA's playing, I'm like, I may have to eat crow on this. Bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Ducks have to get into the playoffs to win a playoff series first, so good luck with that.
Get him, Eddie. Get him. Go get him, Eddie.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
I know you are, and there's some improvement this year. I have noticed. But it is kind of, and I'm sure your dad will agree, it's looking better than it has for the Kings.
Even I'm seeing this, like even the Kings. I'm like, oh, if they can get the home ice advantage, that could be a big difference.
Certainly, the Kings are incredible at home, ridiculous at home. They've beaten every team that's top 3 in their division that's come to LA this year. I think it's 11-0, and they've got another one tonight against Toronto coming in. So we'll see if they can keep that undefeated streak going. But that's insane. I mean, they've beaten Winnipeg, they've beaten Washington, they've beaten Vegas, Dallas, they beat all the heavyweights that have come to LA that have lost. So clearly at home, they can beat anyone. It's the road. That's the issue. And of course, regular season, playoffs are playoffs. It's a different animal, but the Kings are certainly, they believe in themselves at home without question. They're better in net than they were against Edmonton these past few years. I think the things they did in the offseason to get bigger and stronger and nastier if Tanner Jeannot is healthy. So that's a little bit of a worry right now. But some of the size that they brought in, taking Warren Fogle away from the Oilers and putting him on the Kings roster has been an addition and a subtraction. And I think the Oilers are not as good as they were. Losing those two guys to the offer sheets, Holloway and Broberg, those are huge losses for them. Yes. Their depth is not there. Their goaltending is not there. So, look, they still have those two monsters.
Yeah.
And if they're healthy, which they're not right now, but if they're healthy, they're going to be a handful to contend with. So maybe this is just a little rest for them to get ready for the playoffs, because they're going to have to carry that team. But it does feel different, and it does seem like it's a much more even matchup this time around.
No, it does. It feels like more like, I think, the first year they played against each other. The one that went to the 7 games, because that was a great, and I think that was without Doughty, I believe, too. So
they had all the young defensemen that one. That's when Jersey came in when Doughty was out and played, and I think Moverari played pretty regular in that at that time when we went to 7 games, but unfortunately Edmonton beat us again. Which that's changing this year, right, Eddie?
I sure hope so. Because a little tired of what we've been seeing lately. It'll I've said this before. It'll feel almost like winning 2 playoff series to beat them in the playoffs. Just because how it's been so one-sided. So yeah, beating them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Kings haven't won a playoff series since they won the Cup in 2014. So. It would be big just to get that monkey off our back, and obviously beating Edmonton would be another. So it's like almost feels like winning 2 rounds other than just one, but hopefully it'll happen.
I totally get that, Eddie. And I love because I don't know if you ever listened to All the Kingsmen with Jesse Cohen.
Mhm.
He always forgets that it was free agent pickup with Fogle and then Arvidsson going to
Mhm.
Edmonton, but he always thought it was a trade, and he goes, "I think we won that trade."
Well, I guess it was in a weird way. It was kind of like a trade, but yes, I definitely think we won that trade, and I liked Arvidsson,
So did
but
I.
a little older, a little more injury prone. And this year, if you look at the production, obviously, I mean, I thought Warren Fogle was a great pickup. I didn't know it was going to be quite as good as it's turned out. He's been even better than I thought, and I can kind of say that about all of the guys the Kings picked up. I thought Darcy Kemper would be adequate. I thought he'd be like another Cam Talbot type. He's been better than that. I mean, he's
Yes.
in the discussion to be a Vezina finalist, for God's sakes.
I
I
think he
thought
should be.
I thought Joel Edmondson. I'm not a huge fan of his contract and the term he got, but I thought that was a decent pickup. I think he's actually been better, a little bit better than I thought he would be, especially as a third pairing guy. I think he's really good for that role. And then Tanner Jeannot, kind of, up and down a little bit, but of late was really coming on and doing some nice things, providing that physical presence, but chipping in offensively as well before he got hurt. So all those guys that they brought in, it really has worked out. I know, a lot of us were like, those were not additions that got you excited, right? It wasn't the big names, but
Yeah.
and Rob Blake has had his issues. We talked about the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, but those moves have worked out for the Kings. They really have.
Yeah. No, I thought the moves they made were great. I know it doesn't look that way, but I feel like also with the playoff series with you and Edmonton reminds me of Pittsburgh and Washington, when Washington finally beat Pittsburgh to actually advance finally, and then they end up winning the Stanley Cup. So
is that a prediction, Cody?
it's not a prediction. I'm saying it's similar.
Go Kings, go, right? So
No.
So can I get into this now? How did this happen? How did this happen? The father, clearly the wise man in the family, has this son and says, "Son, hockey is a sport you need to enjoy, even though we're in Southern California. Embrace this." And he said, "Yes, father, I will." But somewhere along the road, he took a bad turn. Was it those dumb movies? Is that what it was?
Okay. First of all, yes. Well, we grew up in Anaheim, Orange County. Like we're from Lake Forest. So originally, yes. So of course we're in Orange County. We're closer to the Ducks. Yes, it was the movies, but those movies also helped me at a very, I would say, big time at when I had my tonsil surgery. My mom bought me the Mighty Ducks Deed 2 movie, and that's the only thing that kept me insane, like from not like yelling at the doctor to yank out the whatever I had on my arm. It was the only thing that kept me quiet, pretty much. So yes, it was the Mighty Ducks movies. I also grew up with Paul Correa, Teemu Solani, and when you see those kind of players, and still feel like Paul Correa was played too early for his game. I feel like the game we play now would be perfect for Paul Correa.
Yeah,
I can only imagine what he would do with this kind of the game we're playing now.
So Eddie,
yes, that's how it happened. Okay, and my mom, it was a Ducks fan.
So it's mom's fault.
Yes, it's
mom's fault.
But here's the thing: we're all Ducks fans except for the crazy old guy over here
and my son-in-law. Well, anyways, Eddie. So my wife worked at Disneyland when the Disney started the whole Ducks thing.
Yeah.
So she had been a Kings fan. We had been to the Forum quite a few times watching the Kings play, and she was a Kings fan. But I mean, she has had an overwhelming influence on all my children. I mean, they're not perfect. I mean, they're great kids. They're all adults now. But I mean, I wish one of them was a Kings fan? But even Cody, we've gone to a Kings game and he cheers for the Kings. So it's not like we have hatred for each other unless we playing each other.
Yes.
When we're playing each other, it's
Eddie,
there's no rules.
My last 2 years of high school, my soccer coach had season tickets for the Kings. Nobody, he would always ask like, who wants the tickets? I just love going to games. I got like at least 10 games in 2 years from him. I took like my dad, my grandpa. I took other friends. I'm like, hey, let's just go watch a game. Yeah, so I went to Kings games even when they weren't playing the Ducks. You know,
Fair
so
enough.
I love going to games. The atmosphere is just great. No matter where you go.
Yeah, well, one thing about we always talk about on the podcast too is we're hockey fans first before even the teams. We both love hockey. I love watching hockey.
Mhm.
I was actually driving home listening to the Ducks game last night. That was a very exciting game.
Oh my god!
Oh my God.
I got more white hairs because of that game. I can tell you that now.
And then sometimes he records it, so I don't even send him. I'm not sending him messages anymore. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
wow! Did you see the Ducks win the game? And
So
I've ruined it twice for him already.
Yes, he's ruined 2 games for me this season, and I even told him ahead. Hey, I had to stop. I had to pause it, so I'm behind. So I'm like 3 minutes behind, and the Ducks lose. I'm like, great, thanks. You ruined it. Thank you for that.
I saved you 3 minutes.
Yeah,
my wife has done that a few times. But as far as like friends, I will just stay off my phone, or I will text them and say, "Hey, I'm watching the game later. Don't send me any updates." So
yeah,
you have to be proactive as well on that a little bit.
Okay, maybe I have to talk to Siri. All right, hey Siri, block Dad on Ducks game days. But perfect.
There you go.
And we got someone else from our network, Glenn Richardson. What's up, Glenn? How you doing?
Hey, what's happening, Glenn?
All right, let's move on to league news more. The NHL leading goal scorer Leon Draisaitl was scratched due to an undisclosed injury for the Oilers home game against the Western Conference leading Jets on Thursday night. God, having both guys out, that's not good. But I mean, honestly, do you just rest them the rest of the year so that way they're fully healthy for the playoffs? That's what in my opinion, I think that's what they should do.
I think
as Kings fans, you're probably saying, no, let them get hurt.
Well, I have mixed views on it because if they don't play, that helps the Kings' chances of getting home ice in the first round. I mean, they got blown out by Seattle the other night with those 2 guys not playing. So they're clearly, and this is no hot take, not the same team with those 2 elite players not on the ice. So I'm okay if they want to rest them, because I think it's that important for the Kings to get home ice in the first round. So I'm guessing they will both be available and will play in the 2 head-to-head matchups against the Kings coming up next month. So,
by the way, Mom put on the Instagram live, she says, because Mom knows best when it comes to picking for hockey teams. Mom knows best.
Well, I will say no comment on that, Mom.
Honey, we'll talk later.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's not going to go well for you, Dad. I'm ready to.
Probably not. Probably not. The 20-year-old Snuggerud was selected by the Blues at the number 23 overall in the first round of the 2022 draft. He has been signed after the Gophers were ousted from the NCAA tournament with a 5-4 overtime loss to Massachusetts in the regional semifinals. Snuggerud.
It's a good name.
Well, not just that. I've seen him play in the juniors, and he's a difference maker.
College, not junior. College, not juniors.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe World Juniors.
Yeah, I think it was World
Juniors. Yeah.
World Juniors.
Wasn't he the captain of USA too? I believe he was the captain.
Might have been. I don't know.
I can't speak of that either.
It is a very interesting thing with hockey where you can add these college guys for a playoff run. It's a very unique, odd thing about the NHL where you can do that. When their season ends, you can sign these guys and they can actually play. And it happens every once in a while that they can come in and contribute. It's like picking up a player after the trade deadline. It's very interesting. So yeah,
I'm really looking forward to Ryan Leonard right now.
Yeah.
Once his college season is over, I'm like, that's like a free pickup pretty much for the Capitals.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's weird. We've seen players in this situation every once in a while. They'll score a playoff goal before they even play in a regular season game, which is a weird little quirk. But yeah, no,
I believe
there's some.
Cale Makar did that. I believe.
Wouldn't surprise me. I know there have been a few players that have done that. I know there was a
Yeah.
guy in Seattle, I think, that I remember they picked up for their when they made the playoffs 2 years ago. They had a college guy come in, and I think he did that. He scored his first goal before he played in a regular season game. So,
by the way, Eddie, if you've never been to a Seattle home game, I highly recommend it.
it's on the list. It's on the list. My wife was born in Seattle.
Oh, really?
We've enjoyed going there a few times. My wife is the biggest Chargers fan you will ever meet ever. And so we're season ticket holders for the Chargers, and we usually go on a Charger road trip every year.
That's cool.
One of them many years ago was Seattle, and we had a great time up there. The Kraken weren't around then.
Yeah.
But no, I always try and work in a hockey game.
I do too.
Yeah. So I've seen games in let's see, where we Pittsburgh a few times. Just games. But the last trip we did was New York, and we went to the Garden and saw the Rangers play the Hurricanes, which was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So but Seattle is definitely on the list. I'd like to get up there and check out a game for sure.
My wife and I went up with my friend and his wife. Because we're all just best friends pretty much. Our hotel was like in the perfect spot. It was like you can see, you walk out, the Space Needle's right there, and it was like a 5 to 10 minute walk right to the arena, like right there. It's not even bad, and it was so great. Even though I wanted to punch one of the fans that was right there and everything like that. Other than that, it was fantastic. Even though this was the year, I believe the Ducks, I think it was when they had the worst record in the league and they were supposed to get the number 1 pick, but but I love Leo Carlson though, especially the way he's playing right now. But yeah, so I actually saw the Ducks play in Seattle, which was great. And then we ended up seeing the Mariners, I think a couple days later, because it was opening day, like right after.
Yeah, our trip up to Seattle, it was several years ago. Like I said, the Kraken weren't around then. But we drove up to Vancouver to watch a game. And this is my wife plans everything because she's the brains of the family. Same. But I decided to plan that trip, and I didn't realize, hey, you're going into another country now. You have to have like a cell phone plan, like your cell phone isn't gonna, So there was that. I didn't account for that. And then we got to the border, and this was pre 9/11. We got to the border, and I had brought our expired passports and not our current passports. So and the drive from Seattle to the border of Canada it's a little bit of a drive. I think it was probably like 2 hours. So it wasn't, like if we had to turn around and come back, that was going to be a lot of wasted time. And the guy at the border saw my wife had steam coming out of her ears because she was angry with me that I brought the expired passports. And he said, just go ahead. It's okay. Just go. And I'm like, are they going to let us back over when we come back? He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. So again, this was before 9/11. I don't know if they do that now. And then of course,
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, some of the other stuff that's been going on, maybe they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be nice to us. But anyway, we drove up to Vancouver, and the Canucks played the Ducks.
Oh, okay.
And so we saw the Canucks Ducks play in Vancouver, which was very cool. I do remember being astounded and not surprised, but still walking around downtown Vancouver. At every restaurant or bar you passed, all the TVs had hockey on them. Which is
you're
obviously
in Canada.
not. Yes, which was so cool because I'll walk by the restaurant outside of Crypto.com arena and they won't have hockey on the TVs. I'm like, there's an arena right there and there's a game starting in 20 minutes and you don't have hockey on your TVs. Anyway, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, me too. We need more hockey.
Agreed.
So who's next? It's
I believe that's my turn. The Capitals have signed defenseman Jacob Chikrin to an 8-year extension worth $9 million AAV, $72 million overall.
So that means the Kings will be re-signing Gavrikov.
I
think that was the other option for them.
Chikrin was those names that would always somehow be linked to the Kings.
Yes.
And fans kind of kept that going, I think, as well. And so now we can, I guess, officially put that to bed for a while. He's been great, actually, for Washington. All the moves they've made have been fantastic, including Pierre-Luc Dubois. So they're kind of the poster child right now for all the teams that want to retool, not rebuild, retool for, being the last team in the playoffs last year to being the first team in the playoffs this year is pretty astounding. I mean, the guys that their homegrown guys have worked out, the guys like Alexi Protas and Connor McMichael, the guys they traded for like Chychrun and Pierre-Luc Dubois have worked out. The goaltending has been unbelievable. So and Ovechkin's doing his thing, which I know you're going to bring up. So it's all worked out for Washington. All the moves they've made have been fantastic.
Yeah,
it definitely has been. But Winnipeg's taken over the President's Cup points lead
for now.
Yeah. So it's going to be a battle between those two teams.
It's only by 1 point, but Washington still has a game in hand, so it could be Washington.
Well, it could bounce back and forth, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, on to other news. The Flyers have fired head coach John Tortorella after 3 seasons with the club. Tortorella, 66, had a record of 97, 107, and 33, winning percentage of .479, with no playoff appearance during his tenure in Philadelphia. Brad Shaw will take over as interim head coach. What do you think about that?
Well, Tortorella had some comments that didn't go over well. He said a lot of good things, I suppose, as far as he said, it's on me, I've got to be better, But then he said something along the lines of, I'm not interested in coaching a team like this, something like that. And you're like,
I did not hear that one. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's what you signed up for, John. I mean,
yeah, really.
When you took over this team, you knew that they were going to be bad for a while as they're trying to rebuild this thing. So this isn't a surprise. So why take the job if you don't want to coach in this type of situation? And maybe he wanted to get fired. I mean, it's possible he's going to get paid now $4 million next year to not coach, which is always my dream, to be paid a lot of money to not do anything. But I think he's done. I don't think anyone's going to hire him anymore. I mean, he's been around. He's an old school guy, which can be good and bad. I mean, they Flyers were pretty good last year. I mean, they were better than expected. And so you thought, okay, you got to give him credit, did a pretty good job. But he's a guy that wears on a lot of players, who benches guys at the drop of a hat. I think he's done. But I'll ask you guys this. I know my buddy, who's a Ducks fan, is not the biggest Greg Cronin fan in the world. Would you rather have John Tortorella coaching the team? Yeah.
The guy that talked crap on Trevor Zegras' Michigan and his past. Yeah, that's exactly who I want to coach this team.
Yeah, he doesn't really like young guys, so that would be.
Tortorella's quote was, this falls on me. I'm not really interested in learning how to coach this type of season where we're at right now. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Which is, not good.
Pretty much said, hey, why don't you fire me so I can get paid for doing nothing?
It was funny because I was listening all week to other hockey and they're like, oh, I can see Tortorella, maybe he may not coach next year, but I can see him in a front office role. And then the next day, nope, you're done. You're out. I'm like, ooh, I guess those predictions did not end up very well.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what their plans were going forward. I mean, I don't know if maybe they make a change anyway. I don't know, in the off season, because it hasn't gone well. And he's just a guy that, he's hard to work with.
Yeah.
So maybe, but I think after those comments, they're like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it now. If we were thinking about doing it before, but and if he gets another job somewhere, he's probably going to, I mean, it's very rare that anyone hires a coach to take over a playoff team. Or, maybe if some old coach retires, that could happen, but it's usually when you fire a coach, it's because the team's not good. So he'll be in another situation if he gets another job of taking over a team that's not very good. And it's frustrating. And I get that. And apparently he's, grown weary of that, but that's the job. I don't, that's the one thing I don't really understand about those comments, is that you knew the team was going to be bad. And it was going to take a while. I know you were better than expected last year, but it's not really a surprise they're doing what they're doing. So Yeah, this was the job. If you didn't want to, take on a rebuild, then why did you take the job?
I 100% agree with that, Eddie. 100%.
$4 million would be the answer to that one.
I guess so. I suppose so. Yeah, that's true.
It's all about the money.
That is very true. That's my favorite. My favorite quote of all time was a TV executive. I think it was Don Ohlmeyer was his name.
Yeah,
he said the answer to all of your questions is money. And he's 100% right. If you ever ask why did they do that, it's probably because of money, something to do with money. So
yeah. All right. Next up, the Boston Bruins' Michael Callahan has been fined the maximum allowable under the CBA $2,018.23 for cross-checking against the Anaheim Ducks' Jansen Harkins. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a suspension because it was a cross-check too. It was like right here to the head. I mean, McDavid got suspended. Austin Matthews last year got suspended for that. And I wonder how they come up with these fines. $2,018.23.
$19.
I think it has something to do with their salary. I think it's a certain portion of their salary that
it must be.
If you make a lot more, you're going to get fined more because it's a percentage of your salary. So, if it's some guy who's making the league minimum, that would hurt a lot more, right? Yeah. So it has to do with that. But apparently the NHL doesn't care about necks; they only care about heads. And I've said this before, like they don't care about knees because we've seen knee on knee hits. They don't suspend guys for that. But I thought it was pretty vicious, and it was in the neck. That's part of the head.
It was like right here.
Yeah,
you see the line.
Yeah,
because I think was it when McDavid or Matthews? I think whoever they got.
Yeah, McDavid.
It was also around the same area that where Jansen Harkins got hit. It was. I want to say it was around the same area.
I don't. Like I said, the NHL usually is very sensitive towards anything that is a head hit or a head check or whatever. I mean. I guess technically you could say this was kind of more neck, but still, I don't know. I saw it one time. And I'm like, that should be a suspension.
That's what I thought. When I was watching the game, I was like, oh, I'm surprised he didn't get kicked out of the game for that.
It's a dangerous play that can cause an injury, and there was no need for it. It should have been a suspension.
Yeah, because all he got was a double minor for that, and I thought it should have been a 5 in a game. If it was a 5 in a game and then he got the fine, I'm like, okay, I can understand because I think it was like early on in the second period when it happened. So I was like, okay, he got kicked out for the game. All right, if he gets a suspension, I can see that. But if he just gets a fine, I can live with that because he already got kicked out of the game. Pretty much almost a game suspension.
Right.
So like I said, but I'm just glad that they end up fighting. Those two players, Jansen Harkins and Callahan, end up fighting later in that game. And I think Harkins, believe won that fight. So it was good that he at least got back.
Yeah, he got his own retribution. Which is good because the league obviously didn't do it for him. So
yeah, exactly. All right, Dad, I believe you're up.
Yeah, Sid the Kid Crosby passes Wayne Gretzky. Wayne's getting passed again. Well,
he's got a lot of records though. It's okay.
He does.
I think he has the most important one.
Yeah, with his 20th point per game season, the most for any player ever.
That's crazy.
And Sid's a class guy. He's an awesome player. Love the commercial with him and all those kids. I could watch that over and over again. It makes me smile every time I see that commercial. So, wow, Crosby's another Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Yeah, he's first ballot no matter what. And this next news is my favorite. Out of all of them, the Nashville Predators have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, missing the postseason for the second time in the last 3 seasons. This puts a big smile on my face.
Yeah, that is one of the bigger fall on your face moments of the season, I guess. Because I know I was high on the Predators. I think everybody else was
I
going
think
into
everyone
the season.
was. We're all eating crow on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are the biggest disappointment in the NHL this year without question to me.
Yeah.
To bring in those big names and add them to a decent team. I mean, they were already a playoff team, and you bring in Stamkos and you bring in Marchessault,
And Brady
and then
Shea.
for it to be a complete disaster, and they don't fire the coach. They just, it seems like they're going to be like, yeah, let's try it again, see what happens, which is kind of strange to me because there were, if there were moments this year where they put it all together and went on a streak and showed glimpses of this is the right team, I'd be like, okay, maybe it just wasn't our year. Let's try it again. But there were no points this year where they really showed that this is the right combination of players and this is the right head coach. But they're going to go at it again next season with pretty much the same group. So we'll see how that works out.
I'm feeling they're going to make some big moves in the offseason.
Well, I thought they'd make some big moves at the trade deadline and maybe get rid of some players, but they really didn't do that either. So,
but I think they have 3 first-round picks, I want to say, this season in the draft. So I feel like they could trade at least 1 or 2 of them away and make a big splash, or maybe a big offer sheet somewhere for someone.
Well, and that'll be interesting to see it with the success that St. Louis had with the offer sheets and with the salary cap going up. Are we going to see more of those? I hope so, because I think it's fun to talk about.
It's drama.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if they have opened the eyes of some other GMs around the league and say, hey, this is a good idea. You can help your team out a lot, and you can also hurt another team in your conference potentially, or even in your division, depending on what team it is. So I know it doesn't make you very popular, but this is a business and this is a competition. Who cares, So we'll see.
All right. Ready to get into the game recaps?
Yeah, we can do those pretty quick. Yeah. Sure. You want me to start?
Well, yeah, because you guys have 4 games and I got 3. So we'll do 1, 1, 1, and 1.
Okay. So last Saturday, Kings played the Hurricanes. And who'd have thought what would happen in this game? The Kings looked awesome. Let's go through the scoring real quick. In the first period, Adrian Kempe got his 29th from Hellenius his 3rd and Janot his 5th on a snapshot at the 3:03 mark to put the Kings up 1-0. Then the captain, Anze Kopitar, on the power play, scores his 17th from Kuzmenko his 15th and Doughty his 8th on a tip-in at the 14:39 mark to put the Kings up 2-0. Then Andrei Kuzmenko, believe it gets his first goal with the Kings. It's his 7th for the season from Kopitar's 38th on a snapshot at the 19:55 mark just before the period end. Kings lead 3-0 after 1 period. Trevor Moore in the second period scores his 15th from Danoa's 29th and Fogle his 19th on the wrist shot at 5:58 mark to make it 4-0 Kings. This is when I still can't believe it. It just kept going. Tanner Janot scores his 6th from Turcotte his 15th and Doughty his 9th at the 16:49 mark on a wrist shot to put the Kings up 5-0. Then I think future superstar, and this is the guy I think is gotta play this way for us to go anywhere in the playoffs this year. Quentin Byfield scores his 18th from Fiala his 21st on a wrist shot at the 18:41 mark to put the Kings up 6-0. And, Carolina didn't want to be forgotten. Dmitry Orlov got his 5th from Chatfield, his 11th, and Stankoven, his 22nd at the 14:17 mark on a slap shot. So after 2 periods, the Kings are up 6-1. What are you laughing about that, Cody?
6-1 over a team that was on an 8-game win streak.
Yeah, I was totally loving this game last week. In the third period, Kevin Fiala got his 26th from Laferriere his 18th and Byfield his 24th on a slap shot at the 18:03 mark to put the Kings up 7-1. And then Jankowski gets his 9th from Robinson, his 17th, and Morrow is 3rd at the 18-11 mark on a wrist shot. And now we have a final score of 7-2. If we go to the stats a little bit, let's see how dominant the Kings were. This is the funny thing. They were outshot 36-25. Sometimes this stuff never makes sense. They did win the faceoff 51-49. They were 1 for 2 on the power play, and the Canes were 0 for 2. Hits 23-15 for the Kings. Block shots 17-10 for the Kings. Giveaways 32 for the Canes. Kings had 26. That seems awfully high for both teams for me. And then takeaways were 8 for the Canes, 4 for the Kings. Let's go to the 3 stars of the game. I'm sure you've probably already done this game, Eddie. Did you agree with this game's the 3 stars? I mean, how they picked it?
I honestly don't pay attention to what their 3 stars are. I pick my own 3 stars. So
I like that.
yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I'll disagree. I'll give the 3 stars and tell how I would do it. Although I got to say, I'm okay with this one. Doughty was the 3rd star with 2 assists. Kopitar, 2nd star with a goal and assist. And the number 1 star, Andrei Kuzmenko, with a goal and an assist. And last week, I think on Saturday, because we did our podcast a little late last week, I had talked about, I thought he had played really well and hadn't scored yet. I had not been upset with his play because he was doing those small things that help you win a game. But all of a sudden, he's got a scoring touch. So,
yeah, I agree. I like the way he's played as well. I like what he's brought in. I wasn't expecting a ton, to be honest with you, but he's very crafty. He's really interesting because he's actually very slow going in a straight line. Like he's not going to get a lot of breakaway goals, but he's as quick as anybody you're going to find. Like stop, start, using his edges. He made, I think it was in the Boston game, there was a guy defending him and he fell down because trying to stop and start and stay with him. So he's interesting. Very, very quick, not very, very fast. Good passer, very creative around the net.
yes.
And the things I read about him before when the Kings picked him up was that he was terrible defensively and he wouldn't play defense. And I have not seen that at all.
I have not seen that either. So
I'm not saying he's the greatest defensive forward on the team or anything, but as far as what I was told about him or kind of the scouting report on him, that he wouldn't play defense and he wasn't any good at defense, I haven't seen that at all. So I've been super pleasantly surprised with Andrei Kuzmenko, and you think he's been a very positive addition for the Kings.
I totally agree with you. You want to do your first game, Cody?
Yeah.
Or do you have a comment?
No, Kuzmenko's. I thought that was a good, like, low key pickup for the Kings. You know, because I remember, was it 2 or 3 years ago when he was with the Canucks? Like I think he scored 40 goals that year.
39 for the Canucks.
Yeah. Okay. 40 goals. Okay.
He's rounding up. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm just rounding up. But I thought it was like a good pickup. And if you put him in the right environment, put him, he was with the Flames. I mean, the Flames were a big scoring team. And then he goes to Philly and, they're struggling over there too. But if you put him with the right people, I think he could thrive and stuff like that. If you put him with Kopi or Byfield, I mean, I think he could be something, and you'll spend a 3rd round pick for him.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I like I said, I wasn't expecting him to come in and be a big impact player, but he has. And again, they only was a 3rd round pick they gave up for him. Mm-hmm. He's come in and he's contributed and he's helped that lineup to get kind of settled.
Yeah,
putting Turcotte on the 4th line.
You got him to not be the big guy. You got him to be that role, middle 6 winger that you guys needed.
Yeah, he has been absolutely a positive addition for the Kings.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the Ducks' first game. I don't know if you guys saw this, but so I love when Carolina wears the red helmets with their white uniforms like they did against the Kings. But the next day when they played the Ducks, they had their white uniforms with the black helmets and then red pants. It looked it just did not look good to me at all. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I did not like it. It was just a weird look to it. Like if they wore the red helmets, it looks great and stuff like that. But oh god, that was the one thing I was like, I kept seeing. I'm like, oh, that does not look good. Whose idea was this? So the Ducks hosted the Carolina. I was about to say Carolina Panthers. Oops, Carolina Hurricanes.
Wrong sport.
I know. On Sunday, at the Honda Center, they ultimately fail to win this one. They lost 5-2, despite a resilient effort. The Ducks couldn't overcome a late surge by the Hurricanes. In the first period, both teams remained scoreless, and the Ducks were unable to capitalize on a few power play chance opportunities, which that's just a given this season, pretty much. In the second period, Mark Jankowski scored his 10th of the season to take the lead for the Hurricanes to get the first goal of the game. Then Alex Killorn got the game started for the Ducks, scoring his 17th of the season with Jackson Lacombe's assist. And then Jordan Martinook scored his 13th of the season to take the lead for Carolina to make it 2-1 after 2. And then in the third period, it was the Taylor Hall show. He scored a power play goal to make it 3-1. And then Trevor Zegras scores his 9th of the year with assists from Trouba and Zellweger to make it 3-2 Carolina. And then after that, it was 2 Taylor Hall goals within pretty much a minute. He scored a regular goal and then an empty netter goal to get the hat trick. Shots for the game, where are you? Sorry, I don't know where it went. Box score. Here we go. The shots on the shots for each team had 37 shots. What is going on with my notes today? Shots on goal was 37 each. Power plays, the Ducks were 0 for 6 on the power play, and Carolina was 1 for 3. The Hurricanes held the advantage, winning 38 faceoffs compared to the Ducks 27. And the 3 stars of the game was Troy Terry was the number 3 star with 0 goals, but you could tell, like, when he's on the ice, it's completely different. He controls the offense for the Ducks pretty much right now. And then Freddie Anderson made 35 saves on 37 shots to be the 2nd star. And then the number 1 star was, of course, Taylor Hall with the hat trick. So on that, I mean, Alex Killorn continued his consistent performance, scoring his 17th of the year, maintaining his streak and appearing of all 70 games this year. Zegras added another goal. He's starting to score and shoot more now. And Lukas Dostal made 32 saves on 37 shots. But I can't blame Dostal for this loss. The Ducks just did not look good in that third period whatsoever. So on to the next one for you guys.
Okay. Eddie, do you want to join in on this a little bit, or you want me to just take it?
I'm willing to do anything you would like me to do.
Would you like to do the Bruins game?
I'd rather hear your voice than my dad's voice.
Yeah, I would rather hear your voice than my voice too. You can do it however you like. It doesn't have to be the same format we do it. So
okay. Let's see here. Let me pull it up on my phone.
Take full advantage of you being on the podcast with us today.
All right. Kings Bruins on Sunday. We had Boston scoring 19 seconds into the game to take a 1-0 lead, but the Kings would respond. Anze Kopitar gets his 18th of the year to tie it up at 1-1. Then you had Warren Foegele getting his 20th of the season, tying his career high. Also, that was his 100th career goal, I believe it was as well. And I think it was in like his 500th career game. And it was all very lined up for him. It was like 20, 100, 500 or something like that.
Wow.
So the Kings had a 2-1 lead after 1. Boston would score the first goal of the period again early in the first period, 2:07, but then the Kings responded with 2 more goals, just like they did in the first period. Drew Doughty's 3rd and Andrei Kuzmenko's 8th. And then in the third period, all Kings, Byfield, his 19th, Jeannot, his 7th, and Samuel Hellenius with his 2nd. So the 2nd straight game, the Kings score 7 goals. The 2nd straight game, everybody on the it was against Carolina, all the forwards had at least a point. In this one, everybody but 2 players had at least 1 point.
Wow.
7 different goal scorers against Carolina, 7 different goal scorers against Boston. There was almost a fight in this one between the goalies, but apparently we don't allow that anymore. As you guys well remember, when Phoenix Copley tried to fight John Gibson a couple years ago, they
we were at that game. We took my cousin Shane to his first ever hockey game.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and that was the
that
game.
Would have been. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was standing up. I was like, and just when I saw Gibson slapping the stick, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna finally see a goalie fight live, and then the refs just ruin it like normal.
Yeah, this was Jeremy Swayman and Darcy Kemper. There was a Bruins player that went into Kemper. He didn't like it, and so he grabbed him by the head and ripped his helmet off. And Swayman didn't like that, so he skated to center ice. And then when Kemper saw that, he's like, okay. But people have asked me why they don't allow goalie fights anymore, and I came to the realization a few years ago the NHL mandated that players could not fight if they took their helmets off.
What?
Because if you get knocked out or punched hard and you go down, you can hit your head on the ice, and that can obviously be a bad thing.
Okay. I get that.
Because of that, and because goalies are never going to fight with their masks on, so if you take off your helmet or your mask, the referees have been told to step in immediately. So that is why we don't see goalie fights anymore. So the only way we'll see a goalie fight going forward is if they keep their masks on, which would be
stupid,
weird, very weird. So I don't see that happening. So basically, I don't think we're ever going to see a goalie fight again.
Yeah, on Jeff Merrick's podcast, he was saying it's because of the owners. The owners have told the league, like, we don't want our goalies fighting because if they could break your hand.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
No, but yours makes more sense.
Yeah,
because I can see the owners because they don't want their they don't want their goal, Swayman and Kemper. I mean, Swayman's not going to be in the playoffs, but I mean, if you get Darcy Kemper in a fight and then he breaks his hand, then he's out for the rest of the season. I think that's what I heard and stuff like that. No, yours makes more sense.
Yeah, the thinking behind that is very sound, but I don't think that's the case. I just think they've told the referees, if they don't have their helmet on or in this case a mask, then do not allow them to fight because there's risk of injury. But look, in the moment, did I want it to happen? Yes. Afterwards, did I think that was probably the smart thing? Because as you said, if Darcy Kemper breaks his hand in a stupid fight that means nothing, and now we're screwed in the playoffs, that would have been a nightmare scenario. So in the end, in the moment, yes, I wanted it to happen. But afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm okay. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm too. Hey, it wasn't that game where we saw Copley and Gibson. Didn't he actually hit somebody with his blocker and get?
Copley got a game misconduct for punching with the blocker.
Yeah, because we were all asking why he got kicked out because we saw him hit him, but we didn't know that. Did you know that was a rule before that? Eddie?
I didn't, but
I didn't.
Yeah, found out afterwards that is in fact the case, and it makes sense because that thing is. I mean, it can be like a weapon, you know. Can't do that.
So Eddie, we have one of our guys on the network. His name, his podcast is Frankie the Yankee. He's trying to convince me and my dad to become Yankees fans, but we're Angels fans. So this is his comment. He's every live stream. He's like, "Hey, you guys want to come to the Empire side?" You know. So, but we're Angels fans. He's trying. He's really trying. I appreciate you, Frankie. Though.
Well, let me ask you this: if you had to, would you be a Dodger fan or some other team? Because I mean, they're local, they're winning. Or is that just no? You couldn't go.
Let's put it this way: I'm one of those guys that, I can be a fan. Maybe like the Kings are number one with me, but I don't hate the Ducks unless they're playing the Kings. So I could go to a Ducks game and cheer them on. Same thing with the Dodgers and the Angels. I'm an Angels fan first. If they're not the Dodgers aren't playing them, I don't care. I'd rather see them win the World Series than the Yankees, which, sorry, Frankie, that happened last year. Okay, you lost
really
that. I could see you.
They really dropped the ball on that one.
Keeping the baseball theme, I was at Crypto.com Arena the night the Dodgers clinched. That was also the game where the Kings beat up on the Golden Knights. So that was one of the most fun games I've ever been to. And I went as a fan. I normally go as a media slug. But I went as a fan with my wife because it was Chargers night. And we always go to Chargers night. That was so much fun because they were showing the baseball highlights during the hockey game, which is a little unusual.
Yeah, that's really different.
And fans were cheering for what was going on the Jumbotron and rather than what was going on the ice. But fortunately, the Dodgers got the final out in between the second and third period. Everyone was watching the TV. Everyone was cheering and going crazy. And everyone was having a good time because the Kings were beating the Golden Knights. So it was just a fun party night out at the Crypto.com Arena. So that was a fun memory.
So I live in a household where everyone's a Dodgers fan. So I mean, I hate the Dodgers only because they took players who I wanted the Angels to pick up, like the Ohtani thing. He was going to the Dodgers no matter what. I knew that was going to happen, but I wanted them to get Glass now. I wanted them to get Yamamoto, someone different. But nope, the Dodgers got him. But I don't hate the Dodgers. I just hate them for that reason. But I'd probably go with the Dodgers. But I do have a question for you, Eddie.
Yes.
Or maybe it might be more your wife because she said. How does she feel that Jim Harbaugh was at the Ducks game earlier this week?
She didn't know, which is rare because she knows everything, Chargers. And I told her that I did not like that Jim Harbaugh was at the Ducks game talking to the team. And she immediately went into defense mode. He's like, oh, well, the Kings need to invite him then if the Kings want him to do that. I'm like, he's LA. He is not Orange County. What is he doing? That is a bad job by him.
Well, the Ducks also got Cameron Brink from the Sparks too. The Ducks did.
Well, I know the Chargers kicker. I think it's Cameron Dicker the kicker. He's been at some Ducks games, and so I don't know if I don't know that there's a connection there with that. But for whatever reason, he's been at some Duck games and apparently had a Ducks jersey on. And he's from Texas, so he's not from around here. So I don't know how that happened. If he just got invited and went and became a fan or whatever. But when we went to Chargers night, there were 4 or 5 Chargers players there, and my wife knows all of them. So they were sitting not far from us, and they were having a good old time. There was a fight in front of them, and they went crazy.
I love those videos when they have the front row ice right there, and they see it, oh shit! Just their reactions. I love seeing.
And one of the guys, Morgan Fox, who was a defensive lineman, you know how they have those videos now? I think it started in the NBA of the guys walking in, like what are they wearing as they walk into the stadium arena, whatever. Yeah. So Morgan Fox walked in because they all gave them Kings jerseys with their names and numbers on them, and he was walking in to the game with his Kings jersey on. I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Because apparently he's legitimately a hockey fan. And then my wife told me the other day, she's like, oh, by the way, Morgan Fox is playing for the Falcons now. He left. I was like, man. So anyway.
Well, I'm a Ram fan when it comes to football. But I like the Chargers too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because we're season ticket holders. And so at first I didn't wear Chargers stuff because I'm not a Chargers fan. But it's like a whole day for us. Like we go at 9 a.m, we tailgate before the game. It's like a whole thing. And all of her Charger friends are so nice to me. They feed me great food, and they're always, and I'm in this section. She's in a fan club. So they sold a section of seats behind one of the goalposts in the end zone just for her fan club. So it's this whole group of people. They start off tailgating, and then they all go in to the stadium. It's I know all these people. So I felt weird not wearing the stuff. So I have like a couple of t-shirts and I have a couple of hats. So I do wear Charger stuff to the games. And there was a time in my life that I would never have believed I would ever wear stuff of another team. But as you get older and you get married and you become, you kind of figure out, why not? Who cares? It's, whatever. So I do, even though I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan,
Okay.
I do wear Charger stuff when we go to the games, which at one time in my life I was like, I would never do that. I would never wear another team's colors. You get older and you mellow, I guess, a little bit.
So did the guy ever pay you off on the bet?
Which one? Nobody ever pays off their bets with me.
It was something to do with the Steelers, whoever they were playing.
Oh, that's right. Yes. There is a Kings fan named Ed in Brea, who knows my wife. He knew my wife before he knew me with the podcast. And he's a big Chargers and Kings fan. And he emails every Friday. We have a fan feedback show every Friday. And he guarantees the Kings are going to lose all these games. And he's always wrong. It's unbelievable.
He starts saying the Ducks will lose, so that way
I know. I want to tell him. I want to tell him, if you ever guarantee a Kings win, I am banning you from the show, because he's so unbelievably consistent. It's like I know this is so stupid, but when he emails me and says, I guarantee the Kings are going to lose, I actually get happy. And I know, obviously, he has no powers. I know he has no powers, but I bought into it a little bit. So he did actually predict that the Kings would lose to the Hurricanes and the Bruins. And of course, they scored 7 goals in each game. So I haven't gotten a text from him yet or an email. I hope he is saying that the Kings will lose to the Maple Leafs tonight.
Yeah.
And at this point, I almost kind of wonder, is he doing it as a bit, or does he really believe this? I don't know. It seems like he really believes this. He's one of those fans who just thinks we're going to lose every game, no matter what. It's like, hey man, we're unstoppable at home. No, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose. We're going to lose. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know.
Go ahead.
I had a really bad prediction streak going there for a while because I kept picking the Kings to win and they would lose. So I purposely started picking them to lose, and they had that big winning streak, and so now it's like, when I pick my games, I pick the teams I know that play hard, that are hard against them. Like Toronto is always hard against us, always.
Yeah, they took it to us earlier in the year in Toronto.
Yeah, so I predict a loss, hoping for a win.
We'll see.
So
like I said,
understand that point. So
yeah, they've beaten every top team at home. So I'm hoping that will continue.
God, I hope they do it, because I hope whenever my predictions, if it's against the Kings, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So, but I try to do it with what I think might happen. So, anyways.
But Eddie, you and I definitely have something in common. Anyone that gives me food, I definitely want to be their friend too. So I agree with that 100%.
They feed me very, very well. So
if someone feeds me well, I will be your best friend.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. We're in agreement.
Yeah. All right. So are we moving to Ducks versus Boston now? We got really off tangent there.
After we beat them up for you, you'll have an easy time with them.
Yeah, and then we
beat them up for you first.
Oh yeah, and then we end up beating them up really good. The Ducks beat the Boston Bruins on March 26th, 6-2 at the Honda Center, marking their second in 3 games and completed a season sweep. So we beat Boston both times, so we got the season sweep again. This one's not as nice as when we swept the Predators, but it's always nice when you sweep a team like Boston, though. In the first period, man, the Ducks just completely dominated this first period, but we only got 1 goal in the first period, and that was thanks to Leo Carlson getting his 17th of the season on the shorthanded variety by chance, and that was only our second shorthanded goal all season. And I don't know if you knew this or not, Eddie. You know the Ducks were the last team to score a shorthanded goal this season?
I know that.
Yeah. Of course, our special teams is just atrocious anyways, but
I remember the last time the Kings.
You're cutting out a little bit, Eddie.
Hi.
There you are.
I can't remember the last time the Kings scored a shorthand.
Yeah,
They got a couple.
Great. Is it me that I'm losing?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, I think we're good now.
We had a couple blurps there. That's all. It
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so Alex Killorn and Drew Hellison got the assist on the Leo Carlson shorthanded goal. In the second period, we had 4 total goals, 3 by the Ducks, 1 by the Bruins. Nikita Nestorenko tallies another goal and another team to his goal list, getting his 4th of the season and his 3rd team overall. So it's good that he's finally scoring against other teams finally. And then the guy who you never want to see with the puck in the open area is David Pastrnak. And the only thing I did not like about this goal was the Ducks were on a 5-on-3, and they kicked out Lundestrom out of the center faceoff. And so Lacombe, who's a defenseman, had to take the faceoff. We end up losing the faceoff. It goes right to Pastrnak, and he's wide open. And what do you think he's going to do? Right there, wide open. He's going to put it in the net. And I don't understand why they kicked Lundestrom out, but it's all right. We end up taking the game anyways. And then Lacombe got his 13th of the season unassisted. So now it's 3-1 Anaheim. And then Cutter Gauthier continues his scoring with his 14th of the season assist from Alex Killorn to make it 4-1 Anaheim after 2 periods. But Leo Carlson is just dominating right now. He gets his 2nd of the game, 18th overall of the season to make it 5-1 Anaheim. And then Mason McTavish gets his 19th of the season unassisted. And his reaction to scoring that goal was priceless because he was just finally happy that he finally scored because he was on a little goal scoring drought a little bit. And then Morgan Geekie got his 26th of the season. He's low-key having a pretty decent season, scoring 26 goals. But that just made it 6-2 Anaheim. And that is your final. The 3 stars of the game. You have Alex Killorn with 2 assists for 2 points. Lacombe, a goal and assist. And then Leo with 2 goals for 2 points. The shots on goal, Anaheim outshot Boston 35-25. The power play, the Ducks successfully killed multiple penalties, and we got a shorthanded goal. It's funny, we could score shorthanded, but we can't score on the power play. But I digress. Boston held the slight edge on winning the faceoffs with 33 faceoff wins to Anaheim's 29. So that is it for this game. What a great game overall, especially after the not as consistent game against Carolina. It was good to come back and put a beating on Boston, and especially I know Boston's not having a great season, but still, whenever you can sweep a season series against a team like this is always a plus.
That's true.
So on to your guys' next game.
Well, the next game is against the Rangers, and after just exploding with 14 goals in 2 games, this game took a more defensive posture to it. But there was no scoring in the first and the second period. Miller gets his 18th at the 2:10 mark to put the Rangers up 1-0. Then on the power play, Kevin Fiala gets his 27th from Kuzmenko, his 16th, and Kopitar's 39th on a tip-in at the 10:54 mark to tie the game. Then the Kings take the lead with Philip Deneau also on the power play, getting his 7th from Moore his 18th and Fogle his 20th on a wrist shot at the 17:48 mark to put the Kings up 2-1. Then go to the third period, and it's another defensive battle throughout most of the third period, but Kevin Fiala gets his 28th on an empty netter, unassisted, the 19:45 mark, and the final of 3-1 against the Rangers. Let's go to our 3 stars of the game this time. This is where I'm going to give you what the media picked, but I feel differently. They had the 3rd star being Kevin Fiala with 2 goals. Kemper being the 2nd star with a .957 save percentage. And Deneau is the number 1 with a goal. I think I would switch Deneau and Fiala and have Deneau be the 3rd star, Kemper the 2nd star, and Fiala, the first star with 2 goals. So, anyways.
By the way, somebody asked me about the 3 stars. Who picks it? It used to be the media back in the day. But I don't know who does it anymore. At least they don't ask us when we're up there in the press box. They used to do it back in the day. And it was weird because like halfway through the third period, they'd be like, oh, we need your pick for 3 stars. And then you're like, oh, okay. So you do it. Like, what if it was a tie game? And then somebody scores the game winner, and then that guy's not one of the 3 stars unless you picked him for whatever reason. So it was a kind of weird thing. I don't know if that's why they stopped doing it, but yeah, I don't know who does it anymore. We used to do it.
So it's not media anymore? I thought it was.
I thought it was too. Because that's what it obviously feels like sometimes.
Yeah. No, I mean, sitting up in the press box, and I do sit on the side with the like Helene Elliott used to be. I don't even know if the LA Times has anybody up there anymore, to be honest with you. I know it's because I mean newspapers are what they are. And the TV people never send anyone unless it's a playoff game or a really, some big game. So it's mostly the bloggers and the podcasters and, that kind of thing. So, and we're over there in one side of the press box over by like the snacks, which is nice. But no, they don't come around and ask us anymore. Like who's your 3 stars? They used to do it. You would think it would be even easier now with like technology. You could just like, I don't know, email it or text it real quick. You could do it at the last second, but I don't know. I don't know who does it anymore.
Yeah, because I remember they talked about on 32 Thoughts about like who should win the Conn Smythe or even the 4 Nations thing. And Elliot Freeman was saying like, oh, like I picked these 3 players, but if this guy, if like you'll pick your 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, but he's like, if this player scores a goal to win the game, then he moves to number 1. Like you could put like extra stuff on it, or if he makes has a great defensive period, then he moves up, or if Binnington makes a great save, he move him to number 1. Like I heard that's how they do it for those kind of games. So I don't know what it's like for the everyday game like that. So that's actually, I didn't know that, Eddie. I thought it was media still.
Yeah, no, it used to be, but they don't. I don't know who does it now. Maybe it's honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. How about another thing that I found out through just behind the scenes? I always thought the person that, and again, this is just for the Kings. I don't know how they do it anywhere else. I always thought the person that fired off the goal horn was the guy down on the ice. It's actually Dieter Rule. I don't know if you guys know who Dieter Rule is.
Yeah.
He's the organist for the Kings and the Dodgers. Oh. He's the guy who fires off the goal horn. Underneath his organ, there's a trigger, and it's got like a red cover over it, like it's launching a missile or something. So he doesn't accidentally like hit it.
Okay.
And he's like, I remember one time we went up there and he showed me, his cool setup. And he's like, I'd let you fire off the goal horn, but we're too close to game time. Like if I would have showed up, 30 minutes earlier, I could have done it. And I was like, okay, awesome. No problem. But yeah, he's a red trigger under his organ that he fires it off when the Kings score a goal or at the end of a game. So I didn't know that.
I want to meet the Colorado Avalanche guy that's in charge of his goal horn, because when the Colorado and Dallas first played against each other after the Rantanen, he like spammed the goal horn, Dad. He hit it like 8 times.
Yes, he did.
It was on the overtime winner. It was hilarious. I was like, God, he hit it like 8 times.
He did. I saw on social media an angle of the Alec Martinez game-winning double overtime Stanley Cup final clinching goal. Mm-hmm. It was from inside the net behind Henrik Lundqvist. I'd never seen this angle before. It was kind of going on social media. And then the guy who posted it said, how have I never seen this angle before? And so I was watching it, and understandably so, Dieter laid on the goal horn after that one. It went on forever and ever and ever. Imagine. Yeah. So that was one of the things
I want to see that angle now. That'd be interesting.
I'll see if I can send it to you.
All right, perfect.
That would be awesome.
All right, is it my turn to talk about my game now?
Yeah, your last game, and then we have one more.
So speaking of beating the Rangers, the Ducks, who make me have gray hairs in this game. This was a back and forth game all around. The Ducks were dominating the offensive play in the first period, but of course, who gets the first goal? The Rangers. Adam Fox gets his 7th of the year to make it a 1-0 game. And this was just a really unlucky play, and Fox just happened to be in the right spot at the right time. So the Rangers take the lead on this one, but so it takes us over 40 games to score one shorthanded goal, but it takes us 2 games in a row to get 2 shorthanded goals in back-to-back games, which is crazy. Alex Killorn gets the scoring started for Anaheim again, getting his 18th of the season. Assist from Leo Carlson on the shorthanded variety again, which is crazy. And then, of course, JT Miller, notified duck killer, especially when he was with the Canucks. Again, just an unlucky play. I don't even think this puck was even supposed to go to him, but he got it. He roofed it, to make it a 2-1 game after 1 period. And like I said, the Ducks were dominating the offensive zone. Shesterkin was standing on his head, pretty much. He made some incredible saves in that first period. Then we move to the second period. Alexis Lafreniere scores his 16th of the year to make it 3-1 New York, and that was the only goal we had in that second period. But then the comeback kids of Anaheim come alive again in the third period. Uncle Leo Carlson gets his 19th of the season assist from Zellweger and Zegras to make it 3-2 Anaheim on a beautiful snapshot. And then, of course, the Ducks get into power play trouble as normal. And Mika Zibanejad gets his 16th of the year on the power play. Wow, he only has 16 goals this year. That's crazy. So now it's 4-2 New York at the 4:35 mark. And then Cutter Gauthier again gets his 15th of the season. Uncle Leo with the assist and Lacombe with the secondary. Now it's 4-3 New York at the 4:12 mark on the backhanded shot from Cutter. And then little Olin Zelli with the nice Selly ties the game up at the 18:15 mark on a snapshot with a beautiful pass from Minchikov to hit the wide open Zelli with the nice Selly. I like that little rhyme. Leo gets another assist in this game, so with his 20th assist of the season. So now we're tied 4-4, and then we go into overtime. And finally, the Ducks win another game in overtime. Mason McTavish taps it in on a nice little tic-tac-toe play. It was just I was so happy about this game because this game the Ducks were like playing well, but we just couldn't put the puck in the back of the net. But Lacombe and Gauthier get the assist on the game winner from McTavish. So the Ducks win just under a minute in overtime on a nice tip-in goal from Mason McTavish. The 3 stars of the game, we had Zelli with a 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. Cutter Gauthier with a goal and assist also for 2 points. And then Uncle Leo with a goal and 3 assists, but for 4 points this game. What like I said, what a game. Leo's really coming alive since the Four Nations tournament, which I knew he wasn't going to play a lot, but just him being there with all those Swedish players like William Nylander, Erik Karlsson, and Victor, all those players, I felt like that was just going to grow his game, and he's turned into the player that we hoped it to be. The shots on goal, the Ducks outshot the Rangers 33-30. Of course, we get killed in the face-off percentage because what else? It was 60-40. Again, 0 for 4 on the power play for the Ducks, and the Rangers were 1 for 7. You can't give a team like that many chances. I know they're not as good as they have been in years past, but still, with Panarin, Zibanejad, and Miller and Fox all on one power play, it's just you can't give them that many chances. And then we did tie the season series with the Rangers. We lost 2-1 back in October, so we tied the season series with the Rangers. So that will be it for the Ducks games this last week.
We go to Colorado.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, there you go. This was not pretty. I don't think it was pretty. I don't know if it's the mile high air up there and they couldn't breathe well, but I think we pretty much got dominated in this game. Martin Nitches had 3 points, and Mackenzie Blackwood shut us out in this game. So, I mean, the scoring real quick was all Avalanche. In fact, no scoring in the first period. O'Connor got his 9th from Makar and Drury to put Colorado up 1-0 at the 5:25 mark. Netches got his 25th from Gerard, his 20th, and Nelson his 28th at the 6:57, just a minute and 32 seconds later to put Colorado up 2-0. And then Netches again got 26 from Makar, his 57th, and Druin his 26th. To put Colorado up 3-0 at the 15:29 mark. So after 2 periods, it was 3-0 Colorado. And then in the third period, Druin got his 11th on the power play from McKinnon, his 79th, and Natchez his 54th to finalize a score of 4-0 against the Kings. I certainly would doubt there should be any mention of a King in the 3 stars of the game. As far as the stats go, it was pretty even except for power play. Colorado was 2 for 3 on the power play. We were 0 for 3, which is something we definitely need to work on this next year. And if we really want to win a cup, we need to have at least a upper power play, I would think.
Above average.
At least decent power play.
Hey, at least you guys have a power play.
Well, we do
Not
at times.
much. Not much.
Not much, no. The 3 stars were Blackwood, obviously with the shutout. Makar was the second star with 2 assists, and Netches with 2 goals and assists was the first star.
See, I'm
I went on a rant on my. I don't know if you heard it or not, but
I have not heard the last couple here, but I always catch up.
That's fine. If you listen at any time, I'm grateful. But I went on a pretty good rant about Jim Hiller starting David Riddick in this game. I was completely flabbergasted by that decision. I have no idea why he decided to do it. His post-game comments didn't really shed much light on it, other than to say something like he wanted Rittich to see if Rittich could build on the win over Carolina, and they wanted to get him going. And I'm like, get him going for what? He's not going to be playing in the playoffs. What do you need to get him going for? He's just there to give Darcy Kemper some rest when you have back-to-back games.
True.
And they weren't playing back-to-back games. And this was a big game against a big team, and you're fighting for home ice in the first round.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why he would. And David Riddick has been terrible on the road this year. So why would you start your backup goalie in a big game against a big team when you're fighting for home ice advantage in the playoffs? When you don't have back-to-back games, there's other opportunities. If you want to rest Darcy Kemper, that's fine. Rest him when you're playing at home. And David Riddick is pretty good at home, and your team's amazing at home. You've got games coming up at home against, no disrespect, the Ducks and the Kraken. Rest them then. And it really, really irritated me that he would start the backup goalie who's been terrible on the road in a big game against a really good team. I just found no logical reason why you would do that.
That makes no sense to me. So I agree with you, Eddie, 100%.
I would totally agree with you too, Eddie, on that one. Riddick has been okay.
He's been good at home. He's okay at home. He's terrible on the road. He's 4-11 on the road.
Yeah, you got to play Kemper more.
Well, you got to play him in that game
for sure.
You know, it's an important game.
Yeah. I know I ranted on this a little bit on social media too, and people are like, well, if you don't score any goals, you're not going to win. And that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe they lose 1-0, or maybe it's, who knows? You don't know.
Well, you never know. I mean, you make the big save, and then the team gets inspired, and then that changes the way the offense.
Right.
I mean, momentum. I played sports, and in high school. And one thing is momentum that coach always was trying to teach us. We have to get the momentum, the tempo back. It has to be in our favor. And the Kings play a certain style of game. And if they do play it well, it inspires not just their offense but their defense too. And their defense, I mean, obviously Colorado, I mean, you got McCarr, you got McKinnon. You're talking about the best defenseman and probably right now the best center in hockey. I mean, in my opinion, they're probably be my number 1 and number 2 pick, or either way in a fantasy draft. So,
well, you're talking about a guy that might win the MVP and a guy that might win the Norris.
Yeah,
I mean, they're right there.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Totally.
Maybe I know there's a kind of a movement for Connor Hellebuck to win the Hart, the goalie in Winnipeg, and I think he's right there too. But
absolutely,
those two, if Nathan McKinnon won the Hart and Cale Makar won the Norris, nobody would bat an eye at that. They're right there. They've had amazing seasons. So
yes,
I have a different pick for the Norris. As if Columbus makes the playoffs, Werenski should be the Norris winner, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-man race between those two guys.
Yeah,
and Quinn Hughes would be in there, but he's been out too much.
No, 100% agreed on that.
Elliot Friedman agrees with you, Cody.
Yeah. Oh,
he pushed that. He pushed that on 32 Thoughts.
Yeah, and I honestly, I've loved the way he plays, no matter what. Even before this season, I think I've had him on my fantasy team a few times, and he's always hurt. But this year he's healthy, and look what he's doing with Aaron Columbus, especially what happened to them this year. It's just like that's who I'm rooting for right now.
If the USA would have won the Four Nations, he might have been the MVP.
No, Slavin would have. Jacob Slavin or Hellenbuck would have been the MVPs
because I mean he led the team in scoring.
Yeah. Hey, I've been on the Jacob Slavin trade before the Four Nations.
I know you have. You're a big Slavin fan.
So Eddie, I was a goalkeeper in soccer, so I appreciate good defense. So when I see someone like that, I appreciate that. I love a defenseman.
We've talked for years on our podcast that we believe that the NHL should have a defensive defenseman of the year award.
I hope they do.
They have the Selke for best defensive forward. Why not have because with all due respect to Zach Werenski and Cale Makar, and they're okay defensively, but the reason they're special is because of what they do offensively. But there should be a defensive defenseman award for guys like Jacob Slavin. And we were talking about in the Four Nations, he had such a great spotlight put on him, and deservedly so.
Yeah,
that we were hoping that maybe it would lead to a movement to get a defensive defenseman of the year award every year.
I think we say that on one of our off-season podcasts, Dad? Like if we were commissioner for a day,
we did.
I think we said we would like to see a defensive defenseman award.
Yeah, that we would change about the NHL. You know,
and a guy and it could recognize guys like Jacob Slavin, like Mikey Anderson for the LA Kings, who are they're great defensive players, but they're never going to do much offensively, so they get kind of overlooked.
No, I think Anderson would be definitely top 5, top 3 every year for that award. Yeah. The way he's been playing, there'd be no one on the Ducks, but I mean, because we don't really have defensive defensemen on our team, really.
Radko Gudas.
Yeah. I mean the guy that turns over the puck 5 times a game. Yeah, that's who I'm going for.
Mikey Anderson and Gavrikov this year.
Yeah,
what a tandem they were. I mean, Kings aren't where they are without the way they played defense for us. Yeah. So I'm all for that award happening.
I am too. I'm all on board for that.
So do we want to go to Players of the Week?
Yeah, let's do Players of the Week.
I noticed you had nothing in the notes. I have so many players this week. I had 5 players with 4 or more points with the Kings this week.
Mine's pretty easy. I mean, it's the guy that just had a 4-point night last night, for God's sakes.
Yes, I already know. I already knew who you were going to pick.
Yeah, for me, it's Uncle Leo. He's the Player of the Week for the Ducks. I mean, multiple goals, multiple assists in 2 different games. He's my Player of the Week. That's a no doubter.
Well, mine is it's the first time this guy's going to win it for the Kings this year. I picked and it didn't spell right. Andrei Kuzmenko. He had 2 goals. I just noticed that it auto corrected on my notes.
Andrew. So
Andrew
he's no longer
Kuzmenko.
Russian. This is the American version of
But
Kuzmenko.
he had two goals and 2 assists. We had 3 other players with 2 goals and 2 assists, and the only one with 5 points was Fiala with 3 goals and 2 assists. But Fiala's got the award before, and I thought Andrei Kuzmenko deserved it. Eddie, did you have a pick this week for King of the Week? I mean,
well, I will let you in on a little secret. I will be on the All the Kingsmen podcast on Sunday night to pick my Kings of the Week.
Oh, awesome!
So I will save that for then.
Perfect.
Okay, that's
understandable.
I can go for that. Yeah, no worries. So we want to go to predictions. You want to join us in the predictions?
Certainly.
Okay.
Right, you guys go for it first.
So today, LA versus Toronto.
Hey, I said it earlier. They have not lost to any team that's currently in the top 3 of their division. So I'm sticking with it. I'm saying Kings beat the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I got them losing 5-2 with the idea that that's the key to get the win.
Okay, whatever it takes.
I'm 7 for 7 in the last 2 weeks. So
that's like I have a friend who goes to the games, and look, the Kings have been amazing at home. So him going to the home games and them winning is not, something magical. But he always texts me, "I'm here," and they always seem to win. So I'm like, all right, make sure you do your magic.
Okay.
So well, tell them to do the magic.
Normal.
I want to be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
I want you to be wrong too.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it.
I want you to always be wrong, Dad. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. I'll get to you later, son.
Yeah.
And then we have a back-to-back again, a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back.
Isn't this like the third week in a row?
Third week in a row, I think.
It's definitely the second week in a row. I know that.
Yeah, I know it was last week. And they're playing the San Jose Sharks, which we don't have a great record against them.
No, we don't. And they beat the Maple Leafs in a shootout the other night, which I'm sure Toronto was having a heart attack over that.
I think one of our losses at home is San
Jose.
It is,
yeah. It is.
And the Ducks and
yep.
It's like
Chicago might be in there too, I think.
Yeah, Chicago's in there too.
Yeah.
So and we don't have that many of those, but I have us winning that game 4-3. We do put a score in there. You don't have to put a score in if you want, Eddie. I know you're going to pick a victory on that one, aren't you?
I am, but it would not shock me if the Kings beat the Leafs and lost to the Sharks. It would not shock me just because of what we talked about. They've been that way. And, well, we'll see. I'm sure David Riddick will start in that game. If he doesn't, I'm going to have another rant on my show. But clearly, Kemper should go against the Leafs and Riddick against the Sharks.
Wow,
we'll see if that happens.
You guys just don't do good at home against the bad teams.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
San Jose, the Canucks, the Sabres. You guys lost 1-0.
Well, the Canucks aren't that bad.
Yeah,
but you're right.
But they're not good either.
All of our home losses, I believe, are to teams that are currently not in a playoff spot.
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, I was at that game as a fan. I was so upset. Yeah, that was the first game back after they had the game that was postponed because of the fires.
Oh, that's right.
And so they were honoring all the first responders, and then the team went out and just absolutely laid an egg, which didn't go over well.
Yes. Yeah. And then on Tuesday we were playing Winnipeg, and I have us losing that game 4-3.
Well, it's at home, so I'm picking them to win.
So you got 3 wins. You're going to probably go 4 wins. I went 2-2. I picked beating Utah Hockey Club, but that's in Utah. I have us beating them 5-3.
Yeah, fortunately, Utah is not good at home this year, which is surprising because I would have thought you go from Arizona to Utah, you've got a sold out building, enthusiasm. I thought they'd have a pretty good home record this year, but I actually think they've been better on the road than at home, which is weird.
They have been. It's weird.
So
Yeah,
I'll pick.
You're going to pick them to win.
I'll pick the Kings. Yeah.
Yeah. They've had injury problems. I think that's hurt them too. Like losing Dursey. Look at
That's another guy.
They traded him, got a
issues.
second round pick, and then he got what, a 4-year, $6.25 million contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been hurt most of the year. Yeah.
I think he's back now, just started playing again, but he was out for like 2 or 3 months. So.
Yeah.
But by the way, it was the last 3 out of the last 4 weekends you guys have had back-to-backs.
Okay. So we're not too far off on that one.
Yeah.
What about you, Cody? You going to pick yours?
Yeah. So I have the Ducks losing at home to Toronto tomorrow, 5-3. The Ducks just always seem to lay an egg against the Maple Leafs at home every time. But I do have the Ducks beating San Jose at home on Tuesday 4-1. And then the Ducks just seem to always struggle against Calgary, especially in Calgary. So I have them losing 3-2 in Calgary. Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a trivia question. Eddie, you can feel free if you know the answer to this for you, Cody, because you seem to never give me one, so I'm going to give you one. And
I do everything else. How about this? You do the trivia, I do everything else.
I know. He does all the editing and all that stuff because I'm not that technical. To what team did the Anaheim Mighty Ducks trade Teemu Selanne midway through the 2001 season? What team?
That's an easy one, but why? Why you gotta give me this? Like, I was so sad when this happened. I know it was like what, 9 or 10 years old, but still.
Was it the Sharks?
It was the Sharks.
It was the Sharks. Yes.
It pisses me off because when the Ducks did their first Stanley Cup run in 2003, Selanne was not part of it. And then when the Ducks went on the other Stanley Cup run when we won, Korea was not part of it. So
yeah,
either of them.
My Ducks partner, his most hated all-time Duck is Jeff Friesen, partly because he was part of the trade for Teemu Selanne, and the other part was that he had no interest in being a Duck and came here apparently and completely tanked it until he got traded to wherever else he went, and then he suddenly became a decent player again. So that's how I remember that Jeff Friesen was a part of the Teemu Selanne trade.
God, I remember that name, but I would have never thought of it until you brought it up.
Yeah.
That's like the main reason why I hate the Golden Knights is because they not rigged, but they like took the Shea Theodore right under the Ducks pretty much. And I still think that's probably one of the worst trades in Ducks history was trading Shea Theodore to the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
All because we wanted to keep Vatanen, who only kept for another season, if that. And then we traded him to New Jersey, but we got Henrique. But I think at this point, I would have rather had Shea Theodore.
Well, yeah, Vegas took McNabb. They had Martinez. Even Amadio.
But Martinez
all these ex-Kings went
signed there, didn't he? He signed. He didn't go there. He signed there.
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't traded. I'm
just saying they picked him up. I mean, all these ex-Kings went and helped them. I want to beat the Vegas Golden Knights at every chance I get, just like the Oilers.
Yeah. So let's move on to the playoff format right now. So in the West right now, I think it's looking pretty safe for the top 3 teams in the Pacific. I think those are the 3 teams. Nobody else is going to take those spots. It's just now who's going to be where. I think it's just more between the second and third spot with LA and Edmonton. I think that's the only one that may or may not switch.
Right.
And then in the Central, I think Winnipeg is probably going to take the number 1 spot there. Dallas and Colorado are 5 points. There's a difference of 5 points. And Dallas actually does have a game in hand. So each team has about 9 to 10 games left. So I don't think that's enough time. But in the wild card right now, Minnesota has 87 points in the first spot, and St. Louis is in the second spot with 85 points. And then Vancouver has 81, and then Calgary 79, and Utah 76. And then the Ducks have 72, but I wasn't thinking the Ducks have a chance. But if anything, it's between, I would say, Calgary and Vancouver that could take that last spot. But the way St. Louis is looking, I don't think anyone's going to take that spot. So I don't know how you guys think about the West playoff outlook right now.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you said.
Yeah,
I think it's set.
Yeah.
When the Kings played St. Louis 3 times in 8 days in a very bizarre quirk of the
Yeah.
schedule, and I remember thinking, "Whoa, these guys are good." I was impressed. They beat us 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, this guy's good. Look, and then they got red hot shortly thereafter, and are looking great right now. Are they still on a winning streak? They are. They've won 8 in a row. So Vancouver and Calgary just are not consistent enough, I don't think, to catch them. They're, they'll get a big win and then they'll have a bad loss. So I think it's set in the West. I think other than LA, Edmonton, who's going to get home ice in that, I think it's set. I think the rest of the matchups are set.
Yeah, because the Kings also do have a game in hand over Edmonton as well.
Maybe St. Louis catches Minnesota for the number 1 wild card.
That's
Maybe
the only one I could think of. It's crazy that Cam Fowler actually looks like a top pair defenseman under Jim Montgomery.
By the way, speaking of coaches, I did want to ask you about Newell Brown. Who, I know what my friend said when the Kings hired him to run their power play. He said, "Good luck with that."
Oh, I said the same thing.
Yeah, and it certainly has turned out to be true. I know. A lot of Ducks fans were like snickering when that trade came down. So
that was awesome.
Not trade, but hire.
I think when he posted, I was like, "Have him, take him."
Yeah,
I mean, Rich Clune is looking worse.
Former King. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Rich Clune. He's not looking like okay. The power play looks good. Like we're having possession. The puck's just not going in the net. Like I would say the Zegras power play one. I think it's like Lacombe, McTavish. It's just too obvious. They're not moving, but like I can see it working. It's just nothing's. It's just too obvious what they're doing. There's no movement. They get the puck right there on one side. If the guy on the other side just comes on the other side, like where Draisaitl normally scores his power play goals, I think like the Ducks could have at least an average power play. But there's no one moving in that open spot, so there's no pass, and that's the way you score, is moving it, get the defense moving, find that open spot. They're just standing in spots and passing the puck around. You're not going to get far doing that. So that's what I've noticed. I'm more of a visual person. I'm not an analytics guy. I've never been an analytics guy. I don't even understand most of the analytics when people are talking about it, to be honest.
I truly believe the Kings need to incorporate Byfield more into their power play. I mean, he's always on that second team, and sometimes you hardly ever see him.
Yeah.
And he was when they were really doing well, he was on the number 1. It was him, Kempe, Kopitar, Arvidsson, and Doughty when they really were going well that one year.
Yeah.
And I don't see why they don't, because to me he's the key. If we can get him going, we're going to be a much better team.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, Eddie, but I'm starting to see the potential that he could be a superstar.
Yeah, for sure. No, he's given us a really nice little taste of what he can be. Obviously, consistency is the key for all great players. It's not just being good occasionally. You've got to be good consistently. So, yeah, and I don't think he has to be the Kings' best player if they're going to win a playoff series, but he's got to be in the discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Kempe and Fiala and those guys need to carry the load, but I think he's got to be a part of it. He doesn't have to be the guy, but he definitely has to be a part of it. So he is a key player without question.
Yeah.
So let's move to the East for playoffs. I feel like in the Metro, everything is set for the divisional part. Capitals easily got the number 1. Hurricanes got the number 2 with 92 points. And then New Jersey has 83 points in the 3rd spot. I think the Atlantic division is set. We just don't know who's going to be where because they're all within 2 points of each other. Panthers right now have 91 points. Maple Leafs have 90. Tampa Bay has 89, and they've all played 72 games. So they all have 10 games left. So that one is just like who's going to be where, pretty much. Wild card.
I agree. I know Toronto and Florida have at least one more game against each other. I don't know what the head-to-head matchups are with Tampa Bay.
With those other ones.
Yeah, I would kind of tend to lean towards Tampa Bay a little bit. Because Florida's got their issues with injuries. Toronto's up and down, as we saw with the loss to the Sharks. If I had to pick one, I think I'd probably go Tampa Bay to win the division, but it's close, obviously.
Yeah. And then in the wild card, we have the Ottawa Senators with 71 games played with 81 points. And then Columbus is in the 2nd spot as of right now. 71 games played with 75 points, but Montreal and New York also have 75 points. So
I think Ottawa is going to get the number 1 wild card. Yeah. I have no idea what's going on with that 2nd wild card because all these teams are losing. I'm rooting like you are for Columbus because it's been such a fun story. Obviously the Johnny Gaudreau tragedy and just the way they've played. I don't know if you watched the game yesterday, but that Canucks Blue Jackets game was amazing.
Oh, yes.
It was really fun watching that game. So I'm rooting for Columbus. I hope, and they do have a game in hand on Montreal and 2 on New York. The Rangers, I mean, what the heck, man? Going from President's Trophy to maybe out of the playoffs is obviously a giant disappointment for them.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for Columbus, but I really don't have a good read on how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, and the Islanders will also have 71 games played with 74 points. So they're, if they win their games, they could be right there too.
Yeah, it's kind of a conglomeration there to who's going to be hot at the end, who's going to get those final playoff spots up there on the East.
I can tell you on my bingo card, I did not have Columbus or Montreal in this playoff area right here.
Yeah, you didn't have Tampa Bay either earlier, did you?
I had them making the playoffs.
Just like I didn't have Washington, but
yeah, I was higher on Washington than you and Eric were.
Yeah.
Actually, I forgot to mention during the I believe was it the Carolina game with the Ducks? Our friend Adam Broll, who's been a guest, he was the hero of the game. At the game for the Ducks. You know how they do like the military service thing?
That's cool.
Adam was the hero of the night. I was like, bro, why didn't you tell? I would have gone to the game. I would have been there and everything. But he said it was very last minute that it happened.
Yeah. He plays for Patriot Hockey, a military hockey team.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And they play up in the Toyota Center, and I think in Ontario also they'll play games before like the rain play.
Yeah,
and
he's a Ducks fan with Ontario rain season tickets. Tell me how that makes sense, Eddie.
Does he live near Ontario?
Yes, he lives in that area. Yeah.
Then there you go.
I think he knows people around there and everything too. I think he's friends with one of the Ducks power player girls too. I believe she served with him, or that's how they met, or she plays on the team too sometimes.
Very nice.
Yeah, but so who do you guys think is going to make that last wild card spot in the East? Because that's the big question mark, I believe.
That's a crapshoot, Cody.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like I said, I don't really know. I'm rooting for Columbus.
I'm rooting for Columbus. Yeah.
Well, that makes it a majority because we're all rooting for Columbus. In honor of Johnny Gaudreau.
So I looked it up real quick because I was curious. Florida has 2 games with Toronto and 1 game with Tampa. So there are some head-to-head matchups there as far as who wins the
that could be those are going to be very important games.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so the last thing we need to talk about is the race for Gretzky. Like I said, Gretzky's still at 894 goals, and Ovechkin right now is at 889 goals. He's 6 away from beating the record. And I believe they have how many games left? They
10.
have 10. So he needs 6 goals in 10 games, which with him he could do. But the question is, does he do it this season?
Well, I said he's got to have at least one multi-goal game to get it this year.
Yeah,
because he's had almost no multi-goal games this year. It's always one goal, like every other game or every 3 games or so. He gets one.
Yeah.
So if he can get 2 in one of these last 10, I think he does it this year, or 3. But I was just looking at the schedule here. Here's the remaining opponents for Washington: Chicago, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, 2 with the Islanders, 2 with the Blue Jackets, and 1 against the Bruins. They've got 2 against Carolina, but of their 10 games left, 8 of them are against teams that are, well, Columbus is in a playoff spot right now, sort of, but the schedule is kind of favorable there. They're not exactly playing some of the better teams. So that maybe that helps him out a little bit. But if he doesn't get at least one game with more than 1 goal in a game, I don't think he does it this year. If he does, I think he does.
Yeah. What about you, Dad? What do you think?
I know Canadians all hate that he's going to take the record away from Gretzky, but then again, what a goal scorer the guy is. I think he's gonna pull it off. I think.
No,
I mean, he is playing some lesser talent there, where he could get a multi-goal game.
A lot of away games though too. But I'm just trying to think. Eddie, does the playoff goals, do they not count? Or is it?
They're different. They're separate.
Okay. So I thought it was I knew it was career goals, but I didn't know if that was the same or not.
My co-host Doug, the Ducks fan, ranted about this. He's like, "Why are they separate? It's career goals. Why are they separate?" I'm like, I don't know, but they are.
I get both sides, so that's why I was asking. Because I was like, oh, I mean, they're the number 1 seed in the East. I'm like, he's going to do it in the playoffs. But that's why I was like, I didn't want to say, because I didn't know if that counted. But I get why now. I see.
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously Gretzky's 894 would be a whole lot more because he scored a whole lot of goals in the playoffs.
Yeah. So
still the greatest ever, even if he gets beat on the.
I mean, the guy, if you still take away all his 894 goals, he still has the most points ever in NHL history. So, like I said, I don't think he has the most important record that I don't think is ever going to get beat. So.
That's true. I don't think so either. Well,
all right. Well, that is all the notes we have. Eddie, how can our listeners find you? You can let our listeners know.
Well, the Locked On LA Kings podcast is a 6-day-a-week podcast. It is Monday through Saturday, and it would be Monday through Sunday, but they won't let me work 7 days a week. So if you want to find it, it's on YouTube. Search Locked On LA Kings. Don't say Locked On Kings, because then you'll get a basketball team in Sacramento, which I don't think many people around here care about. But also wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Locked On LA Kings.
Yeah.
Yes. And we'd highly recommend. Eddie does such a great job.
Yes.
With the Locked On Kings. You never disappoint, Eddie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you want to listen to a Kings fan and a Ducks fan talk about the entire NHL, other than this show, you can also check out the Puck podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts. Been going on 18 years, and we've done a show every week for 18 years. And when I say that, I sound like, what are we doing? Why would we do that? But we do, and it's become it's just part of my week. It's what we do. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, we understand totally what you mean, Eddie.
So it's always good to stay connected with one of my good friends
Yeah.
as well. So it's kind of become that as well. So
Well, it's like how we feel, a father son doing Ducks and Kings podcast together.
it's a
so.
once a week thing, right? Once a week.
Yeah,
Yes.
every weekend
So
we do.
yeah, you guys make sure you're at least connected for 1 day a week. There you go.
Absolutely.
So I'm a truck driver, so I'm always on pod. That's like my daily thing is I AirPod in and I just listen to my podcast. That's all I do. So I'll definitely add you guys to my schedule for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And we thank you so much for joining us today, Eddie,
Yes.
and taking all this time out of your Saturday. And like I said, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
And I kept wanting to reach out. And Cody, thanks for that, because what a surprise, because you could tell I was a little in awe at the start of the podcast, because I was.
Oh, so he didn't let you know until the start of the show that this was happening?
I did not.
So-
That's why I was a little
very
tongue-tied
nice.
at the start.
Fun.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I usually start us off, and I do a decent job of it, I think. But I was tongue-tied at the start. So
Well, my plan
Okay.
was to have you on, Eddie, and then I was going to put you off stage, and then when I got my dad ready, and then we were going to start the podcast. I was going to tell you this all beforehand, anyways, like when I got you on. But we were all having technical issues to start today, and I was going to have you. I was going to surprise my dad do the intro live, and I was like, all right, before we get started, I have a special guest and just bring you on to really surprise him.
well, I was
But
really
it
surprised
worked out no
anyways.
matter what. It
I
worked
was
out.
really surprised anyways, and really thank you for it, Eddie. It's like a dream come true,
Yeah.
So
That's right.
No,
I'm
I'm a
making
fan.
dreams come true. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, because
said, I'm a
I know
fan.
I know the way my dad feels, because that's like how I felt when I joined Kyle last week on his Locked On Ducks podcast. Like, because I was listening when JD Hernandez was on there. Every day I was listening to his podcast. So when Kyle asked me to be on, it was just like a starstruck moment for me too. So like I said, it was a big thing for me.
I remember when you were, I can't remember her name now,
Sarah.
but Sarah,
Yeah.
when she was, I listened to her, but
Yeah.
when I heard you on there, I'm going, oh, I really like him. And then when I found out you were going to take it over, I think I even called Cody and I go, oh, we got a new Locked On Kings host. And I go, and he's great.
Yeah.
I love listening to you talk. So
Well, I appreciate it. And if you get out to a Kings game, let me know and we can meet up.
absolutely love to do that.
But all right, we've ran really long, but thank you again, Eddie, for joining us
Thank you for
today. We
having me.
really appreciate it, and thank you for being our first Kings fan guest too.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's why I really like. I know, like I'm the one that runs this pretty much and everything, and like I said, we've had other special guests on here, but they're both Ducks fans, and I know my dad's been wanting to get a Kings guy on here since pretty much.
Couldn't have done a better job, Cody.
Yeah,
couldn't have done a better job.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to reach out, because I talked to Kyle and I was like, hey, what's the best way to get a hold of Eddie? And he's like, oh, I think you just hit him up on Instagram. So that's why I messaged you, and here you are. I'm glad to have you on, man. It was a pleasure having you on.
I appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
thank you for being on.
Don't forget, everyone that's listening, please, if you want to see the video, we are live on YouTube. You can also see the video on YouTube and Twitch. We're live on all podcast platforms as well at Royally Quacked, with all social media at Royally Quacked as well. Give us a follow, comment, send us questions on there, talk to us, give us your hot takes about the season, and we'll see you guys next week. And like I said, thank you again, Eddie, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go Kings, go.
All right, let's go Ducks. And Eddie, finish us off with you're good. Go Kings, go.
Go Kings, go.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.